Sure. Let's just start in the East because those ones were all pretty cut and dry. The Bucks took down the Magic in 5, and it pretty much went the way everybody was expecting. The Magic got super hot in Game 1 and were able to shoot their way to a victory. And then that didn't really happen for the rest of the series. I don't think Giannis played more than 30 minutes in any one of the games, and so the Bucks sort of just coasted their way to a victory without really putting forth much effort. If there was any takeaways from the Magic, it was that I thought Markelle Fultz looked pretty good and had a good series as a distributor. So that's good for your young guy to get some playoff experience and look pretty good. But the Bucks were in complete control the entire time. Moving down to the 4-5 matchup between the Heat and the Pacers, which was obviously a sweep and the end of Nate McMillan's tenure as Indiana's head coach. They just didn't really have the offensive firepower to compete with the Heat switching defense. They didn't really have anybody to attack in ISO. Jimmy Butler was able to play TJ Warren pretty well. Victor Oladipo took a lot of bad shots and just looked out of sorts. Malcolm Brogdon, I thought, had a pretty good series, but he's the third option on the Pacers offense, which was kind of weird.
That is odd.
Oladipo took a ton of shots away from him, I thought. And then on the other end, I think the biggest takeaway is all of the Heat's young guys looked playoff ready. Duncan Robinson had a big series. He definitely is going to stress out any defense he faces. Tyler Hero probably not only had a good series, but probably played the best stretch of basketball to date this season. He hit quite a few big shots, especially in the closeout. In the last 2 games, he put down a lot of shots that kind of put the games out of reach in each matchup for the Heat. And so those 2 guys looked good. Goran Dragic really impressed me. He doesn't look like a 30-year-old out there at all. He still has a lot left to give on offense. And so the Heat are playing their best basketball of the season. Moving down to Brett Brown's last few games as the coach of the 76ers. His team got swept by the red-hot Boston Celtics. Very disappointing. Yeah, and it is. You got to cut him a little bit of slack without Ben Simmons, but it was just pretty bad. Joel Embiid, we kind of knew he was going to have a good series because going against Daniel Tice and Enes Kanter, the Celtics don't quite have the defense at the 5 position to stop Embiid. And Embiid definitely had 4 very big games this series. But I think this sort of just proves what a disadvantage you're at if your best player is a center. Because you can't really if your best player is a center, you can't really guarantee that he can get a good shot on a given possession, Bro. If your best player is Damian Lillard or Stephen Curry, you kind of control your own destiny because the ball is in the hands of your best player and he's trying to get his shot off. But if your best player is Joel Embiid and you need him to shoot, your destiny is kind of in the hands of Shake Milton or Josh Richardson. And I thought the 76ers downfall was obviously the lack of shot making, which kind of allows the Celtics defense, which is probably one of the best help defense teams in the league, to sort of collapse on Joel Embiid, but also the lack of good playmakers and lack of guys who could throw an entry pass and kind of set the table for Joel Embiid. So even though Joel put up good numbers, the 76ers just pretty much had nothing on offense. And on the other end, Jason Tatum played amazing. Kemba Walker.
Always.
Kemba was, you are a big Jason Tatum guy, and he was awesome. The 76ers really didn't have an answer for Kemba Walker. They just kind of kept putting Joel Embiid in a drop coverage for the entire series, and Kemba burned him from mid-range and from beyond the arc.
How do you watch all these games?
Well, I don't watch all of them live.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just go back and watch replays.
But you watch the replay of the whole thing?
Yeah, unless it's unless it's garbage time. I don't really watch garbage time.
Yeah, for sure.
Which brings us to the next series of Nets Raptors, which I admittedly did not watch hardly the series at all. This is the one series that I just kind of completely put on the back burner.
It wasn't competitive, right?
Not at all. The only game that was like semi-close was game 2, and even then I think the Raptors won by more than 10.
Yeah,
I don't really even have anything to say. It was just complete domination by Toronto. Kyle Lowry sprained his ankle in game 4, and he looked a little out of sorts against Boston in game 1, but I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about.
Yeah. Because they already played game 1, huh?
Yeah, and Boston rolled them. But
yeah, dude, the Boston's legit.
Yeah, and we can talk more
I think
about
that they could come out of the East, dude.
Yeah, it's starting to look like that's a possibility. We can talk about that one more later, but like,
okay. How come they were such a, like, I feel like no one really talked about them.
No, because they were like the 3 seed going in, and everybody was sort of like ready to hand the Eastern Conference to Milwaukee, but then Boston is coming on strong.
Boston's really good.
Coming out of the East. I actually picked Toronto coming out of the East.
No, yeah.
Isn't looking so good now that Boston was red hot today. But yeah, we should talk about that series in a few minutes.
Yeah. And then so we've got Milwaukee in the Heat, and then obviously, and then Boston versus freaking Toronto, which the Celtics are so freaking good. Like, I literally love all the players on their team.
Yeah, all 5 of them. They're really starting to heat up.
No, yeah. So are you going to talk about the West a little bit? I mean, the West, dude, speaking of freaking not having, like, you don't really want your best player to be your center, but like Joel Embiid or whatever.
Right.
Nurk was making me so mad with some of his careless shots that he was putting up, like in transition. Like when he would just flick floaters up, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's like, that's just like a wasted possession, you know?
Yeah, it was sort of, you could definitely tell the Blazers were a bit out of juice after they having to play their asses off for 9 games in a row just to get into the playoffs. But yeah, Nurk was very magnified by the fact that like Zach Collins was hurt.
Dude, it literally, the 5 guys that start the game are basically going to play the entire game.
Yeah.
Like, that's exhausting.
Yeah. And then James suffered 2 injuries, like within the same series. He dislocated his finger and sprained his knee. Yeah. So, I know. Blazers kind of caught the Lakers on a terrible shooting night and were able to win a close one in game 1. And then the rest of the games were not very competitive. The Lakers kind of rolled. LeBron.
Some of the games should have been actually closer. More blowouts than they actually were portrayed. Like that, what was it, game 2 or 3 that they missed like a bunch of free throws that would have made the game look a ton worse than it actually was. And it already looked bad.
Yeah, I think we ended up losing that one by probably between 10 and 15. And they missed a ton of free throws, which they're not a great free throw shooting team. So you can.
But like Anthony Davis had like a really off night.
Yeah, Anthony Davis was.
Because isn't he like over? He's like mid 80%.
Yeah, he did not.
Yeah. But yeah, the Lakers really good, definitely beatable though.
Oh yeah, I would say they're beatable. And then it'll take a team with at least a little bit of defense to do it, which is not the Blazers. But yeah, I'd say they're vulnerable. The 4-5 matchup, but I think the Thunder are kind of dead in the water in this one. I think this series is over.
Especially with freaking Russell back.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook was back, and he actually looked pretty terrible.
Oh, yeah, he didn't. He was not playing good, but
it's like a confidence boost to have one of your best guys back on the floor. Mm-hmm. And then on the other end, I think the Thunder or the Rockets have pretty much completely solved Oklahoma City because there's the conundrum of Lou Dort, where he's like the only guy who can guard James Harden. And he's like Lou Dort.
Oh.
And he's like the Thunder's starting. He was undrafted rookie this year, so he came out of literally nowhere, and he's the only guy who can competently guard James Harden for the Thunder, and he's actually doing a really great job. but on offense, he just can't hit a shot. Like, I think this past game, he was like 2 for 13, including 0 of 9 from distance. And most of his threes weren't even very close. And so he's just too big of an offensive liability to have on the court because the Rockets can basically just help off of Lou Dort and the Thunder, which pretty much makes life hell for OKC.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, if you take Lou Dort out in favor of like Dennis Schroeder and keep Schroeder, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Paul on the floor at the same time, one of those guys has to guard Harden, and Harden's completely burned any non-Lugens Dort guard that the Thunder have used on him. So even though that one's 3-2 right now, I think I'd give like the Rockets I'd give them a heavy advantage to win that series. I think it's pretty safe to say we're going to be seeing Rockets-Lakers round 2.
Yeah, I don't know how that one's going to go. It could be a freaking scoring fest.
You think it's going to be a scoring fest?
It could be.
Yeah, it could be for sure.
I mean, the Lakers, like, I don't know. I don't feel like their defense is that good.
The Lakers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've actually had some of the best defense in the league this year, but it's interesting how much of that can, like, hold up in the postseason because, like, they don't really have a matchup to put on James Harden at all. Like,
well, no one can really guard James Harden, though.
No, it definitely takes scheme.
It takes him having a bad game.
Yeah, which is possible.
Well, because like he's never a guy that has like hella good efficiency all the time.
Yeah,
he puts tons of shots up sometimes,
especially not in the playoffs. So I think the Lakers could definitely take advantage if James Harden has some cold shooting nights. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one too. And then the 3-6 one, which we just saw tonight with Denver forcing a Game 7. That's been obviously a fun one with like 2 rising stars, Jamal and Donovan, just kind of going head to head.
Dude, Jamal Murray's a stud.
Yeah.
You're not too sold on both.
No, I like him. Honestly, this isn't a new standard for him. Like, this isn't like the new baseline of how Jamal Murray always going to play. Right. But I also don't think what he did in the regular season was the real Jamal Murray either. Like, he's not going to be that bad. Like, I think Jamal Murray's kind of somewhere in the middle, which is like, he's a very good shooter, but I don't really think Denver's offense is going to be based too much on him, like shooting step backs and playing like cat and mouse with Jokic on the pick and roll. I think like obviously Denver's offense for the most part has sort of been based on like Jokic having the ball in his hands at the nail and sort of quarterbacking the game with like cutters and handoffs and all that stuff, which credit Utah's done a good job of taking that away, mostly with Gobert coming out to bother Jokic quite a bit. And so that's basically forced Murray to kind of step up and in a lot of ways be the guy for Denver on offense. And he's definitely risen to the challenge, and his shot making through the course of the series has been unreal. So
this whole playoffs run is like, it's been kind of an unorganized mess, especially with the postponement of the games.
Oh yeah.
Because like we already have the Eastern Conference starting on their semifinals, and we don't even have the West done yet.
Yeah, I mean that happens.
The East went by fast though, because of the sweeps.
Yeah, and that kind of happens every year. That's just sort of the nature of like having best of 7 series, and then like some of them will finish in 4 games, and like some of them will take 7. So it just kind of results in like uneven scheduling. But like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then as for the Clippers versus Dallas basically had to give the Clippers everything they got just to stay in the game. Like game 2, not game 2, game 4. They basically lost game 4. It was just a lucky shot. I mean, obviously Luka's a stud and stuff, but I mean, like, you're one shot away from literally losing that game.
Right. And that game was a blowout in the making, and the Clippers kind of let their foot off the gas a little bit, kind of lost their edge. And like, I not to throw you under the bus, but you were like calling for the Mavericks to win Game 5.
Oh, yeah. I thought they were gonna blow out the Clips.
Yeah.
Not blow them out. I thought they were gonna scrape away another win.
Yeah, but it was just one of those situations where the Clippers.
I couldn't have been less right, bro. They got absolutely demolished.
So you kind of knew the Clippers kind of figured out how to beat the Mavericks the game before, and they just were not going to let themselves blow another 20-point lead. And so they came out like they had something to prove, and that was the Clippers' best game of the season. I wasn't expecting that, but they were firing on all cylinders. And I think Kawhi has been one of the best players of the playoff. If we're ranking the best players in the playoff, I think you've got to go Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum in some order. Those 5 guys have all just been incredible so far in the playoffs.
You know who is pretty much unstoppable when they're on?
Who's that?
Who do you think?
Jamal Murray?
No.
Who?
Anthony Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, his mid-range shots, it doesn't matter who's guarding him.
No, because
there could be 5 guys with hands in his face, like this.
Yeah, but he'll just shoot over him.
Yeah, and he'll literally drain it. Nurk he played some pretty good defense, or not even Nurk, just whoever, even Gary Trent was on him sometimes. I mean, obviously that's a mismatch and stuff, but guys playing really good defense on him, and he still just he makes these mid-range jumpers look so easy, even though it's decent defense. It doesn't even matter really who's guarding him. If he's on, he's on.
Which you'll honestly live with that if you're playing the Lakers. If you're going against the Lakers, Anthony Davis shooting mid-rangers is probably the best case scenario, because when you've got a 7-footer freak athlete, one of the best above the rim finishers in the NBA, and he's shooting jump shots from 18 feet away from the hoop, that's fine. Even though he's you were saying super good at that shot. It's something you can live with. The thing that bothered me, though, when the Blazers were playing is that, the minutes when LeBron was off the floor and there was a Caruso, Caruso 80.
Your favorite player?
Yeah, the Caruso 80 pick and pop. And the Blazers would, load up to stop Alex Caruso. We'd be going over the screen and just trying to stay glued to Caruso. And having Nurk in drop coverage trying to meet Caruso at the rim when 80s literally hit 3 mid-range shots in a row. The real threat in that pick and pop isn't Caruso, it's Davis. And the Blazers weren't able to figure that out even after 4 games of 80 kicking their ass.
Yeah, for real. So if we're being real here, we're gonna go probably the Clips and the Lakers are gonna meet each other, right?
I don't think so. I think the
Rockets. You don't think so?
Maybe.
Don't be salty just because you lost the series.
I haven't fully thought through the Rockets Lakers series. I agree with you.
Dude, there's no way the Rockets get past the Lakers, dude.
Here, let's talk about this because
okay.
Sometimes it actually helps me to talk it through because I haven't.
It's your therapy session.
Yeah, I haven't thought about this series at all yet.
Okay,
I've kind of been holding off till the Rockets actually finish it out.
Let's see here. So they've got Danny Green.
Yep.
And they've got obviously Russ, Harden.
Wait, what team are you talking about?
Wait, I'm talking about Houston. No, the Lakers. Who has Danny Green? Who's on the Houston?
So Houston's starting lineup is going to be Russell Westbrook, James Harden.
Oh wait. Okay, keep going.
Russell Westbrook, James Harden, then Rocco, PJ Tucker, Daniel Ross.
Dude, who the hell is Danny Green on right now?
The Lakers.
He's on the Lakers. Got it. Okay. All right. Got it. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Yeah. And then, Houston just plays a defense where they sort of switch everything. So when the Lakers have the ball, they're going to be able to get mismatches for 80 every time. Like you were saying, that mid-range shot for 80, he's going to be able to shoot that every possession if he wants to, because the Rockets just don't have anybody who's tall enough to contest him. But what I would expect the Rockets to do is probably load up and double team AD every time he catches the ball and just kind of force the Laker role players to hit shots. Like, they'll probably make Danny Green and KCP beat him from beyond the arc, because I would have to assume they're going to throw everything at AD. So what I wouldn't be surprised with is the base matchups being probably PJ Tucker on AD. Just kind of.
I was thinking of Eric Gordon.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
I get all those 3-point snipers confused sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, pretty similar players. So what I would expect probably is the base matchup to be PJ Tucker on Anthony Davis and Robert Covington on JaVale McGee. And let's not play around here. JaVale McGee is going to get played off the court very quickly in this series. Like,
did he play a lot? I felt like Dwight Howard played a lot.
Yeah, and Dwight Howard's going to get played off the floor here too. Like, there's no space for those guys on the floor.
No offense, but like, I just see that the Rockets are really front loaded. Like, I feel like after.
I mean, are the Lakers not front loaded too?
Yeah, but they have like scorers though. I mean, like, KCP's been playing pretty well, and then like if Kyle Kuzma actually like plays good, he's fine. And then like Dwight Howard is actually kind of solid.
Dwight Howard's not going to be able to play in this series, though.
Why?
Because he's going to have to guard a 3-point shooter, which he can't do.
Let me see here. Okay, I just don't think the Rockets are really that good. Like, if the Warriors can beat the Rockets, dude, stop.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors could beat this Lakers team too, though.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I actually have some more Warriors thoughts that I've been.
Hey, wait, no, okay. I was looking at like the mock drafts and stuff, and they have James Wiseman going to the Warriors, and I'm kind of down with it. And they have him projected. You know what his projection is?
What's that?
Franchise center.
Yeah, so.
Okay, dude, he actually, I know that you were saying James Wiseman isn't the answer, but I mean, like, come on, dude.
No, I changed my mind.
You stop it. You change your mind?
I changed my mind, though, for this reason. Because, like, when you think about the Warriors and having the second pick, like, the most important part is because... You know what I mean?
No, sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, I did. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
So I was saying, I think the Warriors should actually make the pick. Like, a bunch of has been made about trading the pick, and I think if you can get a really, really like not superstar, but like if you can get an all-star level player to put next to Steph and Clay, then I think you do trade the pick. But short of that, I think you keep it. Because of the simple idea of like maintaining flexibility. And obviously maintaining flexibility is something that's like super important for any NBA team. But it's, I would say, especially important for the Warriors, just because like we don't know what the Warriors are going to be next year or going forward. Like, they could be an NBA title contender, and they could be a team that's like just fighting to maybe make the playoffs. Like,
sure.
It's like
I know. It's a really fine line. Like, literally one injury to the Warriors can devastate their season.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be an injury. It could be as simple as like Clay not looking good coming back, or Draymond. Like, if all those guys come back really good, they're a clear-cut championship contender. But if those guys experience a big drop-off, it could look pretty ugly quick. And that's why I think you make the pick, is because I think you make the pick at number 2 and select James Wiseman. And that way, like, if you do look good at the trade deadline, you can move James Wiseman. And there are probably more attractive trade offers available at the trade deadline than there are at the draft. So, like, you can always draft James Wiseman and trade him later for another star if you want to.
Okay.
But then if your season isn't going well, and if it looks like Steph and Clay and Draymond are all sort of on the decline, you can hang on to them, and all of a sudden you've got like a good young player.
I just think that you have to take this opportunity.
Yeah,
to get a young athletic center.
Yeah,
he can protect the rim.
Oh yeah,
he can get offensive boards, defensive boards. He also can like create his own shot at times too, and he has some handles. Yeah,
you would hope he's not handling the ball too much.
Well, obviously not, but like if he had the ball in his hand, it's not like a Joakim Noah where it's like an absolute like.
It's not that bad.
No, exactly. He's just really long and athletic, and I think the Warriors need something like that because that's the one thing they've literally lacked their whole entire run. Isn't it? Not like a reliable, because they've had a lot of reliable guys. They've had guys like JaVale, Festus, and like David Lee and guys like that.
Yeah,
but like never someone that's like hella dynamic.
Do you want to know what my favorite Warriors pick trade that I've heard so far is?
Yeah. What is it?
So it's with the Knicks. And so you're trading the second pick for the Knicks pick, which is the 8th overall. And
who do you get?
What you're getting back is Mitchell Robinson.
What about that one dude from Auburn?
Isaac Okoro?
Yeah.
What about him?
Isn't he like a wing?
Yeah, he's going to be like a small forward. He's supposed to be like the best defensive wing in this class. He's like,
and you said those are rare.
Yeah, they are very rare.
So the Celtics are going to get him.
No, no, they wish. He's not going to fall that far. But he's like super strong. He's got quick feet, very athletic. He just doesn't really have any sort of offense yet. Like he can't really do anything with the ball in his hands, and his shot looks bad. But if he can like even have some semblance of any sort of offensive niche to fill, I think he's got a shot at being really good. I think he's going to be like the next OG Anunoby, and that's saying a lot because I really
that's saying a lot. Can you give me a little insight on old Anthony Edwards?
I hate him
because like I only watched like a little bit of highlights on him. I watched one Georgia game at the beginning of the year.
I am not an Anthony Edwards
dude.
guy.
He's supposed to be franchise talent, or no? Yeah,
I think he's the next Andrew Wiggins. I think
that's not bad. Andrew Wiggins is going to be best player on one of the best scorers on the Warriors next year. Swear to God.
Yeah, I think just the highlights on Edwards, like obviously he just looks like a guy who has a shot at being an elite basketball player. Like he's super strong. He's super bouncy. He's an explosive athlete. He, in theory, is supposed to be a shooter, but he shot really bad last year. And his shot selection was just terrible, which is another like Wiggins-y thing about him. He was way too comfortable taking atrocious step back threes and mid-rangers and just all sorts of shots that were just terrible. Like,
really?
Not that he's a ball hog, just he sort of has poor judgment of what's a good shot. Like, very low basketball IQ on this kid. His defense was very troubling. And it was funny. He did an interview with like this ESPN draft guy, Mike Schmitz. And Mike Schmitz like blatantly called him out. Like, what's happening here, Anthony? Your defense is terrible. And Anthony Edwards was just like, yeah, that's mostly just due to a lack of effort this year. And so like he doesn't have a very high motor on the defensive end of the floor. His decision making on offense is atrocious.
He said that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like,
that's not something you want.
No. The physical profile and the athleticism is obviously very appealing, and his ability to get hot and like knock down tough 3-pointers off the bounce, like that's intriguing as well. But I just think there's so much downside. Like, he's a high risk, high reward. Like, he could be terrible and he could be awesome, but I think it's like a 75% chance of him being terrible and a 25% chance of him being awesome. Like, there's no in between.
Yeah. I think Melo could be pretty solid.
LaMelo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I just think that
Compared to
if he gets in a situation where he isn't gonna, if he just has weapons to pass to,
Yeah, where he doesn't have to take on like sort of a scoring first.
Yeah.
role. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I definitely like LaMelo more than Edwards. That's for sure.
for sure.
I don't really think LaMelo is going to be amazing either. This draft class, I like it because it has a lot of good role players, like in the mid and late first rounds. But like the star upside just isn't there for this draft. There are no like future superstars. I don't think.
Yeah.
Whereas
I think James
year,
Wiseman could be a solid player for the Warriors because he'll be surrounded by other really good players.
Yeah. If I had to make a comparison for James Wiseman, I think he could be like a more skilled version of Hassan Whiteside, who maybe plays with a little bit higher IQ on defense.
Way more skilled.
Well, yeah, hopefully. Because he sort of has that, like, he's sort of like tall, athletic, like Hassan is. Kind of got those like broad shoulders, just like a similar player physically. But like you were saying, like, yeah, he can put it on the floor, whereas like Hassan would be hopeless if he tried to attempt some of the like face up moves that Wiseman did at Memphis.
For sure.
And the theory with Wiseman is that he'll even be able to shoot a little bit. And like,
no, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And like, I don't know how much that will come to pass, but if he actually can, that would be huge.
Right. It'll be massive.
We just have like very little information on him though, you know, because he
barely played.
Yeah, he played like 3 games at Memphis. So, but
against like less than stellar competition.
What I will say though is it's very rare that players who have like the same physical frame as James Wiseman, along with his athleticism, like there are no guys like that who are just bad in the NBA. Like,
right.
He'll either be okay or really good, but I think like the floor for him is really high. Whereas like the floor for a guy like Anthony Edwards, I would say is extremely low.
Yeah, for sure. So as for the NBA playoffs, we're seeing, because we kind of got sidetracked. You never really got into the Lakers Houston.
Oh yeah, should we finish that, or did I already spend too much time on it?
No, I don't care. But the more I'm actually looking at it, both of them are kind of front loaded. It's going to come down to who's the better team when your stars aren't on the floor.
Which, for Houston, their stars are going to be on the floor the entire time.
Right. They can't really afford not to.
Yeah, they're not going to rest Harden, Westbrook hardly at all. They're probably going to each play like 42, 43 a game. So for the Lakers, like I said, Houston's going to load up and try to stop AD. I think they can do a pretty good job at that. I think they can do a really good job at that when you take in. So I'm going to say the baseline matchups are going to be PJ Tucker on AD. You're probably going to see maybe Russell Westbrook, of all people, guarding JaVale McGee. I would say load up Robert Covington on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. That way Covington can be like in the best position of all of them to sort of help out on AD. And then from there you put Harden on Danny Green, and I guess you end up with Eric Gordon on LeBron James. So I would say that's going to be that's going to be the base set for the Rockets in this series. And I think that can do a pretty solid job. Obviously the Rockets are super switch heavy, so and LeBron James is obviously such a high IQ player that he'll use the Rocket switches against them and try to find like the best possible matchups. So that will probably be a pretty interesting dynamic to look out for. But I think the Rockets can do a pretty good job of taking AD out of the game just because they'll play smart. They'll double him all the time. They'll force him to kick it out to the Lakers' more mediocre role players. So it's really going to come down to which team. It's going to come down to which teams
scores more.
Or no, it's going to come down to which team mediocre players can hit shots. Like KCP and Danny Green outscore like Daniel House and Eric Gordon and all those guys.
Like if Kuzma's on the floor, like you shouldn't even guard him.
Really?
Like you just double team someone else.
Yeah, I mean, Kuzma's the one guy who
I'm just kidding.
kind of worried about heating up.
He's
Sort of a
good.
microwave. He's one of those guys who you're going to tell within the first minute of him being on the floor whether he's going to be great that night or terrible, because he's either got it or he doesn't.
I think he's good. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I like him too.
it's just like consistency is key.
Yeah, and the thing that's really sold me on him recently is how the effort sort of increased on defense, because I like him a lot more now than I did before. So then when the Rockets have the ball, there's not a great matchup for James Harden. I think the Lakers' honestly best matchup for James Harden is just the fact that they sort of have Anthony Davis, who will kind of deter Harden from attacking. I think that whoever's guarding Harden, whether it's Pope or more likely Danny Green, can probably just load up and sell out on trying to stop the three-pointer and just trust Anthony Davis, who will probably be guarding Robert Covington.
The Rockets play really small, huh?
Yeah.
Imagine if they had Clint Capella, how much of a difference that would make.
Yeah, I think that would work out worse for the Rockets, though. That would be I think the Rockets are going to be very glad they don't have Clint this series.
Even with Russell and Harden?
Oh, yeah, because having Clint Capella would allow the Lakers to keep JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard on the floor at all times, whereas now the Rockets are going to be able to run those guys off.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're going to force Anthony Davis to play help defense instead of act as a rim protector. So when I think about it, I think the Rockets are going to be able to take away a lot of what the Lakers want to do. And I don't think the Lakers are going to be able to take so much away from the Rockets. So now it just comes down to, like, is a compromised Lakers offense better than what the Rockets have got? And I think this series probably goes 6 or 7.
In favor of Houston?
It's going to be close.
Oh my God, you keep changing your mind.
Yeah, give me Houston. Give me Houston in 7.
All right.
I think the Rockets get it done.
All right, tell me your predictions. So we've got... It's not even a lock that Houston gets out of the OKC series yet, though.
I think it is.
I don't know. You never know.
You know, Charles Barkley's been giving out those guarantees on TNT.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to guarantee that the Rockets close out OKC tomorrow.
Who's winning, Denver or Utah?
Ooh, that's tough. That's a tough one because...
It's literally a toss-up.
Yeah, and the thing about that series is that it's sort of just been defined by, like, insane shot making. So it's just going to be pretty much whoever gets hotter. But I'm going to give it to Denver, though, because I think...
Are we seeing... Okay, what were you going to say?
I think that Denver, especially with Gary Harris, has finally been able to sort of load up on Donovan Mitchell and kind of force the Jazz role players or the, like, secondary guys like Mike Conley and, like, Jordan Clarkson. I think the Jazz or the Nuggets have finally, like, been effective at taking the ball out of Mitchell's hands and somewhat recovering. So I think the Nuggets can finish him off.
But the Clippers are going to beat both of those teams, whoever wins, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't even really matter, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets give them maybe a little bit more problem than the Jazz do, but I think Clippers in 5 or 6 regardless.
Okay, so that means we're going to have Houston versus LA.
That's what my prediction would be. And you're going to go with the Battle of Los Angeles.
Huh?
I'm going to say Houston Clippers, but are you going to just pick a Battle of Los Angeles for the Western Final?
I just don't see how the Houston gets past the Lakers.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough series for them for sure. Yeah.
I just don't see that. I don't see LeBron letting that happen.
Yeah, fair enough. LeBron has...
And if AD keeps dropping 30 plus on like 40 points a game, it's going to be a long series.
Yeah, I think the Rockets can kind of do some things to sort of compromise AD, but we'll see.
How do you think a Blazers-Houston series would have went?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean,
See, that's what I'm saying.
the Blazers went 3-1 against Houston this season, so we played them tough. I think we
In
were
favor of Houston?
No, we beat them 3 times.
Yeah.
They beat us once.
Uh-huh.
I think we were.
So how do you think that Houston gets past the Lakers if the Blazers were like couldn't even?
Because I think they're going to take the Lakers out of their comfort zone. Like the Lakers have kind of gotten by playing 80 at the power forward this entire season, and that's not going to fly against the Rockets. And then the Rockets have a bunch of like big, strong wings to throw at LeBron James, and they're not going to be able to stop LeBron. And LeBron, I think, will be able to get his in this series because he's one of the better ISO players in the NBA. And
who's going to stop him if he drives?
Nobody. And like the thing about Houston with their switching defenses force teams to become isolation teams, and the Lakers have a top 5 isolation guy in the league. So
yep,
LeBron's going to have a good series.
And AD can literally shoot it over anybody in the league.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to double team AD and do a lot of stuff to get the ball out of AD's hands. So I wouldn't be so concerned about him if I were.
So they're just going to have to like run and gun.
The Rockets?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe with Westbrook. Westbrook's going to...
Well, because like if they're going to play small, they're going to have to like freaking like go hard in transition and try to take advantages of many mismatches as possible, especially if like Dwight and JaVale aren't on the court.
Yeah. The thing about the Rockets, though, is even though they're really small, they actually are one of the slower teams in the league.
Are they actually? I thought the whole purpose of playing small is to play fast.
Yeah. Also to like space the floor, though.
Yeah.
But like...
Oh, I guess because you have more shooters.
Yeah. When Westbrook's the one like controlling the offense, they are one of the fastest teams. And when the ball is in James Harden's hands, they're one of the slowest teams. So it's sort of like an interesting contradiction. It kind of just depends if they want to lean more on like Westbrook or Harden. That kind of dictates the way they're going to play, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Did you, so coming out of the West, Clips, and then we think 2 different things.
Yeah, I've got the Rockets.
But do you think it's pretty locked in that Milwaukee gets past Miami?
Not at all. No. Because
you don't think Milwaukee's all the way locked in?
Because what's the one thing that we sort of think about with Milwaukee's defense is their ability to take shots away at the rim with like Brook Lopez and Giannis. But that comes at the expense of giving up a lot of like threes. Of any team
in Miami will make you pay with the 3 ball.
Yeah, Miami was the best shooting team statistically this season. They shot at 38%.
Who's their starting lineup?
Miami's.
Mm-hmm.
In the playoffs so far, it's been Goran Dragic, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder, Bam Adebayo.
Dude, that's freaking savage.
Yeah, it's a good lineup. It's a good starting 5. And then obviously the Bucks has been Bledsoe, Matthews, Middleton, Giannis, Lopez. But so like obviously when you think of like the 3-point shooting threats for Miami, like the number 1 candidate or the number 1 sort of guy you fear is obviously Duncan Robinson, especially coming off the handoff game with Bam Adebayo. And that's going to be a really sort of interesting thing. I can't wait to see how Mike Budenholzer game plans for this little for that challenge, because if we're just going to go as boring as possible, which is kind of Budenholzer's MO, and we're going to put like centers on centers and shooting guards on shooting guards, that's Duncan Robinson being guarded by Wesley Matthews and Brook Lopez guarding Bam Adebayo. And so Brook Lopez in drop coverage, Duncan Robinson coming off the handoff, you don't really expect Wes Matthews to get around that screen all that well.
Mm-mm.
Like that's just going to be all you can eat for Duncan Robinson. Like Duncan Robinson is going to be able to pretty much have a field day.
What happened to Hero? Is he hurt?
No, he's been a really good 6th man for him.
Oh, shoot, dude. Yeah, they're so good. What the heck?
Yeah. And then, but I actually think Mike Budenholzer, I don't know how long it's going to take him to make an adjustment, But I think there are some things he can do to sort of slow down Duncan Robinson and probably almost take him out of the game as much as you can. I think the first direction I would look would just be putting Wesley Matthews on Goran Dragic and putting it on so be able to follow Duncan Robinson around a handoff or around a screen and be able to get good contests on the three-pointers. And I think that that's probably what Budenholzer will end up doing because that's pretty simple. And I think Wesley Matthews will actually do a good job of guarding Goran Dragic as well, just because Goran Dragic isn't really a quick burst athlete. So Wes will be able to stay in front of him and kind of take away what Dragic wants to do. But if for some reason that doesn't work, maybe I don't know why it wouldn't. Maybe Bledsoe still isn't getting around the screens quick enough and Robinson is still getting some good looks. I think the next move for the Bucks is going to be putting Brook Lopez on Jay Crowder and just kind of allowing Jay Crowder to shoot whatever shots he wants, which they probably would be fine doing anyway.
Yeah.
And then put Giannis Antetokounmpo on Adebayo. And the idea there is Giannis Antetokounmpo can sort of load up and hedge those screens. So when Duncan Robinson comes off the handoff for him and there's no shot available, I think the only possible issue there is just giving up so many threes that are wide open to Jay Crowder. But I think you'll live with that if you're the Bucks. Those are the kind of shots they've lived with all season. And so I don't know why you'd step away from that now. So now that I kind of think about it, I don't think Duncan Robinson will be too big of a factor this series, provided that Mike Budenholzer makes the correct adjustments, which he hasn't always been able to do throughout his career as a head coach. But there's no reason that they should allow Duncan Robinson to kill them. The Heat's next biggest sort of offensive option this season has obviously been Jimmy Butler. And I actually think Jimmy Butler on offense is going to be a complete non-factor this series. He's being guarded by Chris Middleton, and Chris Middleton is a decent defender. So, that's going to be a problem off the rip for Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler, the thing about him this year is that his shooting has not only gone down in efficiency, not only is he making less shots, he's attempting way less shots. His offense is pretty much predicated just on getting to the basket and often getting fouled, which he's been very good at doing this year. But when you've got a guy like Brook Lopez at the rim waiting for you, that's going to be a lot tougher, especially when you have Giannis helping off the weak side too. I just don't really think Jimmy's going to be able to get hardly anything going to the basket. And I think that he'll probably be able to draw a foul or two on the perimeter with Chris Middleton. But I think getting shots up at the rim effectively is going to be a real big issue for Jimmy Butler. So I don't really see any way he's able to get it going this series.
I think he finds a way.
You do?
Well, he has to, I think, if they're going to win.
Yeah, that could be.
He's their best player.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
They have a lot of good players, but
yeah, him and Bam, that's kind of been the
Jimmy
big debate. I still kind of think Jimmy as well.
We're thinking it's a toss-up. It just really depends on how Milwaukee plays Miami and what they're willing to allow to give Miami.
Yeah, and then the one sort of wild card I think Miami has is Kelly Olynyk coming off.
Oh, yeah.
As a stretch big, and he's just been shooting the lights out lately. He's been playing very well. I think he could cause Milwaukee a ton of problems by sort of just taking either Giannis or Brook Lopez sort of out of the defensive machine and sort of just limiting their ability to protect the paint. So I think, that's obviously going to be big, just having Kelly Olynyk and maybe even Myers Leonard as big guys who can space the floor and kind of compromise Milwaukee's paint defense. But I think this I think this series will mostly come down to like what you were saying, like what shots is Milwaukee willing to give up and how well does Miami shoot those shots. Yeah. When Milwaukee has the ball, I think the Heat are as well set up to stop Giannis as any team in the NBA. Yeah. Not only because they have Bam Adebayo, who is probably the perfect defender to throw at Giannis, like quick, big, lots of length, intelligent defender. Uh-huh. But also because Eric Spoelstra is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. So, yeah, I just think that this series, like obviously Giannis is one of the best players in the league and will be able to do stuff no matter who he plays against. But I think this is about as tough as it can get for Giannis. So that's like what we saw in the Raptors series last year. When the Raptors were able to make it very difficult for Giannis, other Bucks players are going to have to step up. And last year against the Raptors, nobody stepped up, and the Raptors were able to take him down. So who's it going to be for the Bucks stepping up and creating offense if Giannis doesn't have it this series? Will Eric Bledsoe be able to get something going?
Hopefully.
What can Chris Middleton do? Is Dante DiVincenzo able to step up and sort of be a lead ball handler off the bench? What about George Hill?
But you think Boston pretty much runs through Toronto?
Yeah, that's another interesting one.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
You never know.
Just going back to the Milwaukee-Miami one for a second, I'm actually going to take the Heat in 5 just because or not in 5 and 7. I don't know why I said 5. That's crazy. But Heat in 7 just because I trust Eric Spoelstra way more than I trust Mike Budenholzer. And when you've got the best shooting team in the NBA going up against a team that loves to allow threes, that's just sort of a very tempting matchup. So yeah, I think the Heat find a way there. I kind of agree with you. I like the Celtics a lot. I picked the Raptors before the playoffs started to beat the Celtics. And now, and like a week ago, I was starting to sort of feel less confident on that pick. And after we saw game 1, I feel even less confident just because I don't know how the Raptors score against the Celtics. Yeah. Like the Raptors had a below average half court offense all season, but they were able to make up for that by being the number 1 transition offense with guys like Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, who love to run the floor and sort of get easy buckets. But the Celtics take that away because the Celtics are the number 1 transition defense in the NBA. And they've obviously got like really fast wings like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart who can kind of get back and recover. And yeah, the Celtics don't allow easy baskets. And so everything that the Raptors get is going to be tough. And then on the other end, like the Raptors are one of obviously the best defenses in the NBA, probably top 3 defenses in the NBA, I would say. And they play smart. They play really hard. They're well coached. Nick Nurse, I think, throughout the series is going to be able to come up with like a variety of different schemes and looks to throw the Celtics off. So I think that's the thing that is really working in the Raptors' favor too. I think the Celtics aren't going to by any means have an easy time scoring against Toronto. And then I also think the Raptors are a lot deeper than the Celtics. Like, I think the Celtics, I only trust their starting 5. Like, do you trust any of their guys coming off the bench in this series at all?
Like, I don't really know a lot of their bench players.
Yeah, I mean, like, Brad Wanamaker, I thought was okay this first game. And mostly it comes down to, like, who's hitting shots. Like, if Brad Wanamaker is knocking down shots, he's passable. If Semi Ojeleye is knocking down shots, he's passable. But more often than not, those guys aren't shooting the ball very well. But I also don't know how much that sort of, like, comes to pass either if you're Toronto, because I think you got to keep Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet on the court almost all times. You got to have at least one of them because those are who you're using to guard Kemba Walker. And then
Robert Williams seems like he's good.
Yeah, their backup center. Yeah. He had a good game today, I thought. Good like athletic defensive player. He's just a little mistake prone, and if there's one thing the Raptors do, it's take advantage of mistakes. But I think you're right. I think both of these defenses are going to be able to kind of really shut down the opposing offenses. So I think it's going to be a bit of a rock fight with just like some low scoring games. But I think that I'll take the Celtics in 7 just because I think they have more difficult shot makers. Like when the game is like slowed down and you've got to kind of force up low efficiency shots. I trust Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker to be able to hit those tough shots more than I trust anybody on the Raptors to be able to hit shots like that. So I think I'm going to go like you with the Celtics. Even though pre-playoffs I would have taken the Raptors in the series, I've changed my mind on that one.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I feel like there's a lot of toss-ups and there's no like exact locks, especially now, considering the fact that some guys might not be 100% locked in considering the craziness.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So,
I think the one lock probably is going to be the Clippers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The Western Conference Finals.
But, yeah. I want to talk about the UFC a little bit. So, like, yesterday there was some pretty good fights. A lot of really good, like kind of prelim fights for the fight night. Tons of submissions, which is awesome to see guys displaying their ground game, which is, like, I feel like, I mean, like, I don't want to say, but I feel like a lot of times that sometimes takes the back burner because guys get worried because, like, ground game and stuff isn't always the most exciting, and especially when you're kind of trying to solidify your name in the UFC or it's like your first fight in the UFC and you're trying to make a name for yourself, like, people kind of want to stand and bang and kind of like get that knockout of the night, you know what I mean? But there's nothing wrong with showing off your ground skills at all. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of really good submissions. Like, the first fight of the night, Hannah Cifers, she's like one of my favorite fighters. She was like beating the crap out of this girl like Mallory Martin. And Mallory like recovered, took Cifers down, and then pretty sure got her in a rear naked choke. Crazy. And then the next fight was like an arm bar. And then the next fight, Sean Brady versus Christian Aguilera, was a guillotine. And then Al Caceres caught his guy in a rear naked choke as well. But yeah, there was like, I don't want to say these fights are like boring or whatever, but like the main fights that I wanted to see, like Robbie Lawler didn't really look ready for his fight against Neil Magny. Neil Magny kind of just drowned him. Like because he's such a long guy. He's like 6'3", has like an 80-inch wings, like reach. And he kind of just like did drown him. And then Anthony Smith, kind of feel bad for the guy. He's like one of the top light heavyweights in the world. He fought a really tough guy. Same kind of deal happened. Like he's losing momentum. Like he wanted to get back in the heavyweight kind of title picture, but after losing a fight like this, like it's kind of tough. Like he had a guy like break into his house.
Oh,
and like he had to like fight him off and stuff. And he's not really been the same since then.
Really?
Yeah. It was crazy. It was a crazy story, but yeah, the UFC fight's pretty good. I'm looking forward to. I think we'll talk about it later in the week, closer to the upcoming fights. Like Dana White's Contender Series is on Tuesday. You're gonna probably watch a few of those. Some of those guys are those stories are kind of cool. But for the Saturday's fights, Overeem versus Augustus Sakai, like a little precursor to that. Like Sakai, he's good, but hasn't faced like the cream of the crop talent wise, and also Overeem is literally one of the best strikers that has ever walked the face of the planet, especially the heavyweight weight class. So
I would suck to be like some criminal and break into a guy's house and it turns out the person is a UFC fighter.
Yeah, but the guy Anthony Smith literally said that like it was the hardest fight he's ever been a part of in his entire life.
Really?
Yeah, like the guy put up a huge fight. Apparently the kid was like a wrestler, like a pretty good wrestler from like the Midwest and stuff.
Dang, why? He shouldn't be robbing houses. He should be trying to get in the UFC.
For real, dude. This is a big man too. He's like 6'3", 200 plus pounds. And this kid was like a little bit bigger than us and really skinny. And he said it was like one of the hardest fights he's ever had to like put up with his life. He said the kid ate like all of his elbows, all of his punches, everything.
Damn. That's kind of cool.
I mean, let's be careful. But I mean, yes, it's crazy. But I don't think the person was sober. Per se.
Which person?
The person that broke into the house, I don't think that they were like natural strength.
Oh.
I think they were hyped up on a little bit of something.
Oh. Well, I mean,
little superhuman juice.
As long as they do that before the UFC fight, they should be okay.
For real. So do you have a performer of the week? I got mine. Brandon Belt, San Francisco Giants. Literal man's, I kind of crap on him a lot because he hasn't been like the hottest hitter, but he's always been a solid guy. He's been with the Giants through the thick and thin. He has really helped propel the Giants into winning because we were on a 7-game win streak. We lost a couple games to the Dodgers because of the stupid freaking, what do you call it? The new rules where it's a 7-game doubleheader if you postpone a game. That kind of killed our momentum, but I completely understand why they postponed the games. But yeah, he really has helped propel the Giants into like just into the win column because our best hitters have they haven't been like super cold, but they aren't as hot as they were. So it's really good to see other guys step up. You know, it's just if only everybody could be hot at the same time, that'd be amazing. But I'm not going to complain. The Giants have been playing really good, and the NOS is scary because the Padres have literally been making money moves. Like they made like 4 trades today, and tomorrow is the trade deadline for the MLB. So there was a trade deadline.
Oh, interesting.
And the Giants, that was like on my phone. I have like Apple Music or whatever. Yeah. So my aunt was like watching TV, and I was sitting outside, and I was just like searching up the Giant game, and like KNBR is the radio station down there in San Francisco. And so they were playing, like I can just like tap in and listen to the Giants games on my phone, which is kind of sick.
Yeah, it's dope.
And it's kind of cool to like listen to, because like the radio and TV guys sometimes switch off. And like the Giants have like some of the best like color play-by-play commentators in the league. So it's kind of cool listening to them. But yeah.
Plus baseball is like probably the easiest sport to follow on the radio too.
Mm-hmm, for sure. It's
chill. Kind of relaxing to listen to it on the radio while you like do something else.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm proud of the Giants for what they've been doing. They're in a really tough division, and it's really odd. But they're staying in Arizona right now.
Oh, really?
Because if they don't want to fly back to San Francisco, if there's a trade that needs to be done, like they want that person to come and be on with them for their upcoming road trip.
Oh, gotcha. And the Giants, they're not exactly in the playoff picture right now, are they?
No, but they're working their way up to 500, and to get to the playoffs, you need to be at least 500 and above.
Oh, so everybody who's 500 and above makes the playoffs?
No, but it really helps.
Oh, okay. Wait, so
it's not like the NBA, Jonah, where you can be sub 500 like the Blazers and still
the playoffs. Well, yeah, I know, but like, do you think the Giants will be like trying to sell off some of their like more veteran players and try to load up on future assets? Or
that could be the move. But I also think that I really like the team that they have, and I think one major. We really need a bullpen, a solid guy that we can rely on to close out games when we have the lead. The biggest thing we need. Offense hasn't really been a problem for us this year, which is crazy. Usually it's the other way around, where we can barely score. Like we chip away like 1 or 2 runs, but we can't protect that. Now it's like we score 4, 5, 6, 7 runs. We need to protect that with our pitching.
Right.
It's opposite, which I like that problem more, because if we get down 3 or 4 runs, I'm not concerned about it. Like over the course of the game, we'll probably get those back eventually. But these last few games have been a little bit tough though, because we've been a little bit slow. Like today's game, we scored 1 run, and I think that was like it. We like got 1 home run in the first inning, and then after that, like we didn't score anything until I believe the 8th. And then we like unloaded or whatever. We ended up winning like 5 to something. But yeah, we're looking good. I'm really liking our team. And when I was saying that we might go to the World Series, I wasn't joking, dude.
I know you weren't.
No. But yeah. Performer of the week, Brandon Belt. Who is yours?
Mine is going to be Luka Doncic, because even though he got eliminated by the Los Angeles Clippers, he still had a pretty spectacular first playoff series where he kept like putting up 30 and 40-point triple doubles and basically being the entire engine against. He's basically he's the engine of the Mavericks offense, especially he's not on the floor, and he hit like the first defining shot of his career, which I thought was like a big milestone for him. So even though Luka's team struggled and ended up being eliminated, he still hit a lot of like big check marks and made a lot of he pretty much wrote an entire chapter in like the legend of Luka Doncic. So I think it was a big postseason for him as an individual, even if it wasn't that big of a postseason for the Mavs, if that makes sense.
I agree, 100%. Yeah, he's a beast. And the stuff he's already accomplished at such a young age. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, the sky's still the limit for him.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to do, so in honor of our boy Chadwick Boseman, I wanted to do, since like 42 is personally one of my favorite movies of all time, I wanted to do do you have a list of any of your favorite sports movies of all time that you like? That are your fave? I hate to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, you go first. I don't want to think of mine. I know they're what I like.
So 42, one of my favorite movies of all time. I've literally seen it at least 10 times. And so it was very devastating to me when I heard that he died. It was tragic. Like, he's literally such a good actor, and the stuff that some of the roles that he was going, like the fact that he had cancer and was doing these things is absolutely mind-boggling to me. But yeah, so I got to go 42, and then Nacho Libre. It's not really a sports movie, but he's like a professional wrestler. I kind of count that as a sports movie.
Yeah, that's a sports movie.
That's literally like my childhood is that movie right there. Nacho Libre. It's like my favorite movie of all time. Like one of my favorite movies ever. Not as much as 42. 42 is like number one. And then Warrior is a really good one with Tom Hardy. It's like a early MMA movie. Like early. You should watch it. You've never seen it? It's really good. It's about like two brothers. They have completely different backgrounds, and then they end up fighting each other at the end for they do like a tournament. They just have a really broken like family and like really weird dynamic, and it's just really interesting. And then Moneyball is a good one.
That's a good one.
Brad Pitt and the Oakland A's and that whole deal. That's kind of how I feel like the Giants have been doing their thing like the last few years.
That's a good.
Except they haven't been winning. They haven't been winning now. And then We Are Marshall.
Oh,
dude,
that's a good pick too.
It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. I love We Are Marshall.
Anything with Matthew McConaughey in it is an automatic winner.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah. And then, dude, that movie's just crazy.
Yeah.
He's such a good McConaughey is such a good actor. And then Remember the Titans is absolute classic. I've seen that movie probably 100,000 times. They play it every year in school. Like, if some way or another you just run into that movie. And then Invincible with Mark Wahlberg, where he plays like Vince Papale or whatever. It's like that Disney movie. Have you seen it?
No.
He's like he goes and tries out for the Eagles and he makes the team.
It sounds like a cool premise. I've never seen it though.
You've never seen those movies before?
No.
Dang, but yeah. I've tons like obviously Major League, stuff like that. Those movies are the best. But yeah. Do you have anyone in particular that kind of sticks out to you?
Yeah, so I would say honorable mentions go to Caddyshack and and Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are classics.
Super funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Dodgeball.
What's that? Oh yeah, Dodgeball. That's good too. And I've got to throw Space Jam in there.
I've never seen Space Jam.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
You should see it just before they make the new one.
Yeah, I've honestly never seen that. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've never legitimately watched it. But there's so many good sports movies out there. Have you seen? It's like called The Express.
No.
crap, I forget exactly who it's about. Like Ernie Davis, I think is his name. He's like one of the first black guys to ever win the Heisman Trophy, and he played for like Syracuse or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
There's tons. Oh, and then like I think it's called Race or something with Jesse Owens.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
Yeah, and then also like the Bruce Lee movies are freaking fire.
Can I say what my number one sports movie of all time though is actually my number one overall favorite movie of all time?
What is
actually, no, it's my number two overall favorite movie of all time. But it is Cool Runnings, which is it's a movie about the Jamaican bobsled team.
Oh, my parents love that movie.
That's awesome. It's probably the second best movie that's ever been made. Yeah, it's a classic.
I've never seen it, dude.
You have to watch it. It's very funny, very inspirational. It's even a tearjerker. Like, I don't usually cry at movies, but just all the challenges they had to overcome to compete in the Winter Olympics was just very moving.
You're gonna tear up?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but dude, yeah, there's the scenes in 42 where I forget the Indians manager just goes off on Jackie Robinson and Jackie just wants to kill him. Like the things that people say to other people is like absolutely mind-boggling to me. And to think that it was okay to say those things is crazy.
Yeah,
it's wild. But yeah, and then also I want to talk a little bit about like I think it's pretty cool that sports organizations are going to start opening up, trying to make their stadiums like polling areas, and also like how I think it's pretty sick how sports organizations are actually starting to, I don't know why this hasn't happened sooner, but they're starting to kind of use their power to their favor and to make change in a way. Like I think that's really cool, and I think it's really important that they're pushing people to vote and stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I just like I don't understand why this hasn't happened sooner.
Are you registered to vote this year, Kellan?
Oh yeah. I registered probably about 2 months ago.
Nice.
Like everybody, as soon as they turn 18, like I know, they registered right away.
Really, I forgot. I actually
yeah, me too. I had to
procrastinated.
I was going through. I was like bored one night, and I was like, "Crap, dude, I'm not even registered to vote." And I was like midnight one night.
Yeah, and you can do it online now.
Yeah, and I just did it.
Yeah, it took me like 5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, it literally took me 5 minutes too.
Yeah. Everybody who's listening to this, if you haven't registered to vote, just Google it. And it's extremely easy, and it's definitely worth it. So.
Oh, yeah, 100%, especially now, dude.
Yeah, whether you're going to vote for Biden or Trump or whoever else, just be sure you're registered.
Yeah, and just make sure, taking into consideration everything before you vote for a specific person. Also, last question. When you like think of your favorite sports movies, is there any specific movie you would like to see? Like, is there an athlete that you would like to see a biography? Like,
Jonah and Kellan.
Yeah, but is there really a happy ending there? I mean, like Johnny Manziel went to rehab.
Yeah, you're right. But then
Johnny Manziel. I'll never forget when Skip Bayless said that.
Johnny Manziel needs rehab. That was back when Skip Bayless wasn't even a complete joke like he is now.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, who else would be good? I mean, obviously Myers Leonard.
I think Dame would be good.
Yeah, Dame would be cool. It would be cool. Probably this would happen in a few years, but more of like a.
Dude, Colin Kaepernick's gonna get one, dog.
Yeah, for sure. It would be cool, like a documentary about the Warriors. Like I feel like that story isn't finished yet.
Like a Last Dance kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that they're not done.
No.
I'm sure there is footage.
Yeah. That's kind of the cool thing about this day and age, that there's probably footage about pretty much everything now.
Right. No, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the Warriors would be cool. I'm trying to think of like an athlete like in the past that would
you would like to know more about.
Yeah.
I know that Jamie Foxx is going to play Mike Tyson in a new movie. That's what I kind of got this question from.
Oh, really? That's
yeah. Pretty sick. Sounds just like him in the videos that I've seen. Yeah, I know. I can't really think of anybody else.
The thing is, if you're doing a Mike Tyson movie, you can't really impersonate him too much because you don't really want to piss him off, you know?
But I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Jamie Foxx is like, how could you hate that guy?
What?
How could you hate Jamie Foxx? He's so cool.
Yeah.
And he's a great actor. But yeah, I can't really think of anybody else. I think Conor McGregor will have a movie eventually.
Yeah.
But he already has the documentary. Like his whole life's a movie anyway. Like his Netflix documentary, Notorious, is literally a documentary. Like he did his best. Dude, low key, like it was scripted. Like he was like, I don't know. His life is the closest thing to an actual movie script that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Was he sort of in charge? I didn't watch the documentary about him, but
you should watch Notorious. It's so good.
Did he kind of like choose what was in it and kind of have a hand in directing it too?
Well, but just like the way his life worked out chronologically is eerie.
Really?
Yeah. The fact that he started with nothing and just literally kept winning and doing what he said he was going to do. I'm going to knock you out in the first round. I'm going to knock you out in the first round. I'm going to knock you out in the first round. I'm going to knock you out in the first round. Like bing, 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 bing.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you're super good at what you do.
Right, but he's not just fighting like numbnuts. Like he's actually fighting like the best fighters of all time. Like Jose Aldo was literally God before he fought him for the featherweight title, like the undisputed featherweight title. Then he clacks him. I think it was 14 seconds. He ended the best. You ended like one of the best careers that MMA has ever known, and it's never been the same since.
Have you watched Bloodline?
What's that?
It's a TV show on Netflix. It's really good.
No, I've never seen it. Have you watched Hoops?
No.
Dude, I watched like 15 minutes of the first episode. It's like, it's the weirdest show ever. It's
that's the animated one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did watch the first episode. Yeah, it's not very good, is it?
It's not good at all.
No.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
It is an odd show. But yeah. Yeah, I think we kind of covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. We at least got through the NBA, which we had a lot to catch up on. So yeah, good.
We did for sure. But yeah, thank you for doing this. This is cool. We'll do another one later. What?
Sounds good.
We'll do another one later in the week.
Awesome.
Well, I want to try to get another guest on before the other guy comes on. Yeah,
like a famous one or just like one of our friends.
I mean, I don't really care. Just anybody, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds good. There are a few people who I know want to be on it. So.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I'll text them and ask.
All right, awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.